Hello. In this video, we will talk about safety and basic use for the woodshop bandsaw. The bandsaw is a very versatile machine while being relatively simple in its concept. Like many woodworking saws, you hold onto your part and push it into a moving blade. And like any machine, be mindful of your hands and fingers when using this. The bandsaw cuts by moving a long, continuous blade driven between two steel or cast iron wheels. The bandsaw is capable of cutting wood much thicker than the table saw or miter saw, with the added ability to cut free-form curves. Straight cuts can also be completed with a bandsaw, but there is a trade-off with accuracy. The thicker the wood, the more drift happens in your cut. This is most noticeable in straight cuts. A bandsaw blade is not held perfectly stiff or straight compared to, say, a table saw. This means as you push wood through the saw, the more opposing force required to cut, the more likelihood the blade will drift just slightly during your cut. Bandsaws can cut curves, but are limited by the width of their blade and how much you can turn through a curve when cutting. Wider blades are for rough resaw work. Thin blades are for more detailed work, including tighter radius cuts. Blades with a higher density of teeth per inch cut slower than coarse blades. Finer tooth blades will give you a cleaner cut. The bandsaw is a dual tool for trimming down material to more manageable sizes, or rough cutting shapes to be finished later on a sander. Any cut that isn't straight will likely be a candidate for the bandsaw. Any cut that doesn't have to be perfect is also a prime candidate for a bandsaw. Before we cut, let's get familiar with the parts of our machine. This is the start and stop button. To turn the saw on, push the center green button. To turn the saw off, push the outer red button. Bandsaws rely on a fast-moving blade and the momentum stored in the heavy drive wheels to cut wood or plastic. When you turn off power to the bandsaw, it will likely need 20 to 30 seconds to coast to a complete stop. Some bandsaws, just like this one, are equipped with a brake. With your foot, gently put pressure on this pedal to stop the blade faster. The rip fence works the same way as a table saw rip fence, but with less accuracy in the straightness of your cut. The rip fence can be removed to enable the full throat width of the machine. This is the distance from the blade to the frame of the machine. Bandsaws are measured by their throat clearance. This is a resaw fence. This extra tall fence gives you more surface area to help hold your wood when resawing. This is the work table. Your wood will always rest here when being cut. There are only a few adjustments needed on a bandsaw. The blade guide contains bearings that keep the saw blade aligned with the large wheels on the top and bottom. When you push and twist your wood through a cut, these bearings fight back to keep the blade from slipping off the wheels. The blade guide should be adjusted to just above the thickness of your wood. This will provide the most accurate cut. To do this, loosen the friction knob and crank the adjustment wheel to raise or lower the blade guide. Make sure you tighten the friction knob when you're satisfied with the blade guard position. If these bearings appear heavily worn or are not contacting the blade properly, let a staff member know. A staff member will replace these bearings or adjust them as necessary. The miter gauge is used for crosscuts or any mitered angled cut. The miter guide is usually stored on the left on the French cleat wall. Before using the miter guide, make sure you check before you cut that there's enough clearance between the miter guide and the bandsaw's bearing or blade guard. When you have your piece of wood marked and you're ready to cut, you're ready to use the bandsaw. Adjust the blade guard so it sits about a 1/4 inch above the top of your material. Remember to loosen the friction lock, adjust the blade guard up or down as necessary, and tighten the locking knob again. Turn the saw on and wait for the blade to reach full speed. This takes 1 or 2 seconds. Begin your cut by placing the wood flat against the table and feeding it or pushing it slowly into the blade. Continue cutting until the blade is clear of the material. Always be mindful and aware of the location of your hands in relationship to the blade. Be careful to always keep at least 4 inches of space between your fingers and the blade. Small parts or exit cuts where the blade is exiting out of the wood might put your fingers too close to the blade. Have a scrap block or push stick at the ready to push your part through the last few inches of cutting. Never place your fingers directly behind the blade path when feeding wood into the saw. When you're finished cutting, turn the saw off. To turn the saw off, press the outer red button and use the brake to bring the saw to a stop faster. Use the brake to gently bring the blade to a stop. When the blade is completely stopped, Pick up any small scrap pieces left over from the cutting process. Pick up any scraps that fell on the floor. Sweep the area around the saw. The bandsaw is a very versatile saw. Let's explore a few cutting tips for cutting curves. Wider blades will rub and bind in tight curves. Never force a wide blade into a tight curve or radius. Doing so will stress the blade with torsion and possibly break the blade at the weld. Smaller width blades of a 1/2 inch or less are best for cutting curves. Tight curves require relief cuts. A tight curve is any radius that might bind the blade when cutting. Let's listen to 2 examples of the bandsaw cutting a curve that's capable of the blade side and another example of the bandsaw being stressed too hard in a tight curve. Relief cuts are short, straight cuts that approach perpendicular to the curve. Chunks of material are freed as the curve is cut, relieving the blade of interference. As you cut, small scraps of your work will become free and might interfere with the rest of your cut. Some of these small pieces will rest very close to the blade. Do not reach for these pieces when the blade is in motion. Wait for the blade to stop before grabbing these scraps. The proper amount of relief cuts just comes with experience. Remember, if the curve looks too tight, add relief cuts. It's always better to be safe. The bandsaw has a significant amount of momentum behind it when it's running. Even when the power is off and the blade is coasting, the machine is still very capable of making aggressive cuts, either through you or wood. Always wait for the blade to stop before reaching for scraps or making adjustments. Know the signs of a dull blade. If the wood just doesn't seem to cut, or the saw sounds like it's struggling to cut, do not force it. Dull blades are more dangerous than sharp blades. Excessive pushing on a dull blade puts you in danger. Sudden slippage of your fingers in the blade's path will always result in injury. This last tip is for blind cut. Blind cuts, or cuts that do not pass all the way through the material, are susceptible to pulling the blade off the wheels when you back your part out of the blade. It's possible to back out of straight cuts when the blade is in motion, but keep this distance to under 2 inches. That distance is the length of cut. Any blind cut longer than 2 inches, or any blind cut that's very curvy, should not be backed out of when the blade is in motion. If you need to back out of a long or very curvy blind cut, hold onto your workpiece and stop the machine. Break the blade to a stop. Gently wiggle your part back and forth to back it out of the blade. Always take time to think about your approach. Sometimes if a cut won't fit because of the machine's throat, try flipping your part around instead. Be sure to plan for this. You may have to cut your pieces reverse side to make things work on the size of this machine. Don't get discouraged. Because you can do freeform cuts, it will take time and practice to get a feel for the coordination required to cut precisely to your lines. And remember, the bandsaw is great for precision work if you have that coordination. You can always touch up your part on the sanders in the wood shop, so don't be afraid to practice either. Some things to consider: avoid cutting very tiny pieces on this machine. Grab a bigger piece to cut down if you're trying to make something small. Always be mindful of your hands and fingers whenever the blade is in motion, and the bandsaw will serve you as a very useful tool in this shop.